Going on YouTube, Cloverbell's here back with another Scarlet Violet video, and yes, that is a Lugia on my screen, and that can only mean one thing and one thing only. We are definitely at the tail end of the format, because if we're team building with Lugia, you already know that we're kind of stretching it here, right? But of course, this was a tier 3 sub request at the channel. Actually, there was 3 tier 3 sub requests for this, and because of that, you know, we have 3 different ways of building around Lugia, because again, all 3 users have somewhat of a different playstyle. So I figured, let me mix it up a little bit and let me give each one of these guys a different way of utilizing a Lugia team. Now, that being said, again, you know, I understand you grew up playing silver and gold and silver, and you know, Lugia was one of your favorites, your childhood favorites growing up, and you really want to make it work competitively. But of course, it is very, very hard. And, you know, and then you reach out to me and say, Clover, can you please make Lugia work? And then I say, why? Right? But of course, at the same time, you know, we can make it work. It's just very difficult, obviously, and there are better options. So that is the one disclaimer right away. And anytime I talk about Lugia, you know, with someone, I always like to put Ghastly on the screen here. Okay, because again, if you look at Ghastly here, Ghastly's base special attack is 100, okay? And Lugia's base special attack, you can see it right here on the screen, is only 90. So the fact that a Ghastly has more base special attack than Lugia kind of says something right there, and kind of makes you rethink your choices in terms of building around the restricted, right? So, you know, I just wanted to put that into perspective, right? And just show you that, yeah, you know, unless Lugia gets a rework, it's going to be tough to really utilize it, but doesn't mean it's unplayable, doesn't mean it's not viable. We can still make it work if we surround it with a good squad. The other 5 Pokemon have to be good, okay? That's the whole secret behind this, right? Even if Lugia is not that great, the other 5 Pokemon got to be broken, okay? And that's the only way this is really going to work. So, that being said, you know, you have to look at stats, you have to look at typing, ability, and see how exactly can we help this thing do what it needs to do. So I look at its bulk here, base HP 106, defense 130, special defense 154. So Lugia's bulk is actually very, very good. Okay, so that's already a plus for that. And the speed is actually also really nice. You know, base 110, which means you're gonna outspeed, you know, base 100s, you're gonna outspeed other Pokemon that fall, you know, in between that kind of category, you know, after base 100s, but still slower than 110s. So you know, that's also not too bad either. This typing is terrible, right? Psychic Flying, that's not good. You know, you're weak to both Calyrexes, right? Both the Shadow Rider and you're weak to the Ice Rider. That's not good. Both of those Pokemon are like S tier, and they're 2 of the most common restricteds that you're gonna run into. And then at the same time, you're also not doing well into the Miraidon matchup either, right? Miraidon being the electric type. So you're already you know, you got the nail in the coffin against 3 of the top restricteds in the format. Poor Lugia, right? So, you know, again, Psychic Flying, not very good typing. The ability is pretty decent. Multiscale, right? You know, just think about some other Pokemon like Lunala with Shadow Shield, or Terapagos with Terra Shell. You know, you get to at least take 1 big hit, right? Because it is halved, so that's nice. And then if you just couple Lugia with a little bit of healing, then you can kind of keep staying at full HP, and then all of a sudden Lugia becomes relatively hard to break, right? So that being said, where do we go from here? You know, not great typing, and the set that we're gonna use is a pretty standard one. That's something that has been always used in the lifespan of competitive play for Lugia. So it's gonna be Aeroblast, it's gonna be Earth Power, okay? And then we do need a setup ability, because God, 90 base special attack is not good. We need some way to boost our damage, and Calm Mind is the way to go. And then, of course, our last slot will be Protect here. Now, historically, usually when you have like setup mons like this, you know, with Calm Mind, you know, Leftovers has been traditionally the way to go. But that being said, you know, the fact that Lugia is weak to Snarl is not going to be good whatsoever, right? So if you just think about all the Chiyus that are running around, you know, clicking Snarl, that's bad. So instead of Leftovers, I think just a Covert Cloak is going to be good. And then at the same time, you're not taking speed drops. and you don't get faked out, so you can simply sit in front of stuff like Incineroar and Rillaboom and still click the Calm Mind, not need to protect there. So that's the benefit there. I really think Covert Cloak is the best item for it right now. So you have this, okay, and this is the set that we're going to be going with. Now, how do we build the rest of the team here? How do we support it? So the way I look at Lugia, all right, if you're going to be running a setup move like Calm Mind, who is this compared to that can kind of run this set here? And then what we can do is actually copy some of those ideas, right? Because it's meant to support that kind of playstyle. So if we're going to be going with the Calm Mind stuff, I think back into Terapagos. By the way, if you want like the better Pokemon that can do this job, then Terapagos is just the way to go, right? You just think about all the Terapagos is running around, whether it's leftovers or whether it's Covert Cloak. Either way, they love to set up, and it's basically protect the king playstyle, right? So usually they're gonna have some redirection support, some kind of healing, maybe even some screens, because that's gonna be good for setting up Calm Mind. And then at the same time, just think about Kyogre, right? The recent Kyogre team as of late, oh my goodness, I can't type right now. Yeah, there we go. There's the Kyogre. The recent Kyogre set is with Grimmsnarl Screens, right? So you're going to have the leftovers here with the Kyogre. You're going to have Origin Pulse, okay? Then you have some other stab move, but then, of course, it's going to be Calm Mind and Protect, right? So I think and I look at references from these two, okay? And, all of these guys are special attackers. They all have some kind of Calm Mind setup. They're all relatively bulky. So if we can borrow some of those successful team ideas and just apply it to a Lugia team, then I think that is just the best way that we're going to make this thing work, right? So, I'm going to give you 3 Lugia teams, one with, Grimmsnarl Screens, and then another one where we have something else that can partner besides the Grimmsnarl in terms of healing support. And then the third team is going to be kind of in the middle of both variations, right? Because again, the third user wanted a little bit of both of the team ideas that I'm going to show you. So stay tuned for that one. But what I'm going to start with first is actually just straight up Comfey, right? I think Comfey Terapagos was very good, for a long time, and it still is. And I think also Lugia can really take advantage of Comfey's healing, right? Because again, if you can keep your multi-scale active and just keep setting up Calm Minds, then all of a sudden the Lugia becomes relatively hard to break. And then, you could just beat the other team, depending on what else you want to use or what you're up against, right? So I do think for team number 1, we're going to go with Comfey healing, right? And again, Triage Floral healing is just really, really busted, okay? And of course, Draining Kiss too. You can break sashes. You get to heal yourself. Then you have Helping Hand potential, right? Where, Lugia really struggles with damage. Sometimes you're not in position to click Calm Mind, but Helping Hand is kind of like a Calm Mind in itself, right? Sometimes you just need a little bit of oomph, right, for Lugia to pick up some of these KOs. Sometimes one Calm Mind is not enough. Sometimes you need 2, but you don't get the luxury of having a second Calm Mind setup. So if you could just do like 1 Calm Mind and then have Helping Hand, that's going to be good enough, right? And then just some speed control here. Trick Room, again, against the Tailwind stuff, and, something to pin the other Trick Room user against. You can Trick Room the Trick Room. And then I do think Mental Herb is best. You don't want to get taunted on this thing and not being able to click a lot of your support moves. So I think this is good. And then from here, where do we want to go? I also think Chiyu is going to be very, very solid here, right? Again, we're not going to totally rely on Calm Mind, right? We have Helping Hand here. And then at the same time, we do have a Chiyu here. And I think Chiyu is going to be really, really useful because, again, think back, or just think in terms of your typing. You are a Dark Fire type, great against both Calyrexes, the Shadow Rider and the Ice Rider. So you have that going for you. And then at the same time, you can just make Lugia do extra damage with Beads of Ruin. So I think that's the best way to go about it. So in that regard, I think we're okay with these 3 in terms of like the core of the squad. Then after that, give me a Fire, Water, Grass core. You might as well, right? You got a Fire type. Give me the 2 best water and grass types that you can think of. I can already name them for you right now. We got Rillaboom, we got Urshifu. Why not? Okay, Rillaboom really good at removing Miraidon terrain, of course. And then at the same time, just having that fake out that can help you set up the Calm Mind is going to be really good. Also, fake out Surging Strikes, still broken even now in Scarlet and Violet, of course. You can't protect against the fake out. You can't protect that's not what I meant. If you try to protect against the fake out, you can't do that for the surging strike. So it's a great pin to have, you know, always fake out surging strikes. So here's my fire, water, grass card. And then after that, give me something else here, you know, that can also benefit Richiu, that can also do something in Trick Room, and maybe something else that also just has priority. How about Raging Bolt here? I think Raging Bolt also makes sense. Raging Bolt being relatively slow, and then it's just another Pokemon that can do well against a lot of what's running around right now. Like, think about Urshifus, think about that Kyogre team running around. Raging Bolt does really relatively well there, right? And if you're gonna go against, you know, Miraidon and Calyrex stuff, Raging Bolt, not bad in those matchups either, right? Because you're gonna get a Sun boost, gonna make you do more damage, or at the same time you're gonna get terrain boosted because you are an electric type, so that's good too. So, you know, a lot of this is just, you know, what Pokemon do I want to bring depending on the matchup, right? Obviously, if it's Tailwind stuff, I want to set up the Trick Room against them, and at the same time, I want to be able to, you know, keep my Lugia healthy while setting up my Calm Minds. And then at the same time, look at this, Helping Hand, Heat Wave, or Helping Hand, Surging Strikes, Helping Hand, Grassy Glide, Helping Hand, Thunderbolt, Thunderclap. Like, Comfey is helping everyone on this team, and it just makes sense overall. Like, if you've got Rillaboom, Grassy Terrain, and, you know, the healing, that's just gonna keep Lugia healthy for a prolonged period of time. And that's good. That's what we want, because we want as much chances as we can to keep our multi-scale active, right? So I like this a lot. And again, Rillaboom, Urshifu, and Raging Bolt, sometimes these guys can be your restricted, and you don't need to rely on Lugia, because if you just have 5 or 4 broken Pokemon like this, they can win you the game, okay? Lugia might not even have to come to those games, depending on the matchup, and then you can just win off of these guys, right? And it's totally possible. We've done that before on the channel, but this is one way to go about it. I think it makes a lot of sense just in terms of the building. And again, you know, it's just all about how can I make this thing, you know, better than what it appears to be. All right, so what we're gonna do now, at least for the first version of this team, we're going to round out the rest of the moves, the EVs, the items, and then we'll give it a couple test runs in the ladder, and then we'll show you build number 2 that we did for another person. All right, so back here. Okay, so obviously, you know, with Comfey, we've already done it already. Now, Chiyu here, again, just being able to have some kind of fast mode to the team, I think helps a lot. So I'm just still gonna go Choice Scarf here. I think it makes a lot of sense. Of course, with the Heat Wave, you're gonna have the Dark Pulse, of course. Then you're gonna have Snarl, and then you're gonna have Overheat. Of course, your pretty standard set. You're gonna go Terra Ghost here, which I think is pretty good. By the way, Lugia, a couple of Terra types that are pretty good here. You know, Fairy is one choice, right? Because you get to resist dark damage. Oh, by the way, you're weak to Chin-Pow and Urshifu too, single strike, right? So that's another thing you have to worry about as a Lugia player. You're also weak to Chiyu, Dark Pulse. So Fairy type, not bad either to consider. But at the same time, you can also consider Terra Ground, because again, the Terra Ground is going to have you neutral against Ghost types and Dark types. And you're going to have immunity against the Electric types. So stuff like Raging Bolt and Miraidon, you're going to be okay there, and then you get to have more damage into your Earth power. So you have that going for you. I think those are your 2 best options in terms of Terra types. You can go Terra Flying for a little bit more Aeroblast damage, but, you know, I really think you just want like defensive typing with your Lugia, in all honesty, right? So then from here, your Comfey, you can do a couple things. You can go Steel Terra, which I think is okay, because again, you get to resist steel damage and also poison damage. So that's totally fine. You can also go Poison for that matter, but I think Steel is also relatively solid here. Chiyu here, like we said, we have Terra Ghost here. Rillaboom, I still like Fire. You can also go technically Terra Normal here, just so that the Calyrex Astral Barrage gets whiffed. But again, for me, I still like Fire type in terms of my Terra, so this way I cannot get burned. So I think that that's still pretty solid even right now. But it's a very standard set. We have Grassy Glide, we have Wood Hammer, and we have the U-turn ability, right? And the U-turn move, I should say. That's not Grassy Glide, that's Grass Knot. There we go, Grassy Glide. Okay, then Urshifu. So couple things you can do with this. I think you can go Safety Goggles, okay? And then you can just go Surging Strikes, Close Combat, and then Taunt. and then protect here. I think that's also pretty solid. You can also simply go Aqua Jet here for a little bit more priority in terms of that. Or you can just go for more damage and just go Mystic Water here and still do a ton of damage with Surging Strikes, Close Combat, and then still have Aqua Jet over here. Up to you. I do like Taunt on the Urshifu, believe it or not. I think Taunt is really, really nice, depending on the circumstances. But I still like the Mystic Water overall. But, you know, that's just me. But if you like the safety goggles here with the Taunt, then feel free to go for that. But either way, I still think we want Terra Water here for more damage. But from here, Raging Bolt. I wanted to be more aggressive on this Raging Bolt. I did like Magnet, but I think Life Orb is just also a really, really good item, especially like Life Orb Draco Meteor, just big nukes. Helping Hand Life Orb Draco Meteor just immediately deletes a lot of things. So I wanted to put that there. Thunderbolt and Thunderclap, of course. And then from there, you know, just simple protect here, right? And I think Terra Electric is still okay, you know, for what we want our Raging Bolt to do. So I kept it there for a little bit more damage. But yeah, this is it. So, you know, you can kind of see the Fire Water Grass Core here. We've got Fake Out. We have a little bit of speed control here, you know, with the Trick Room stuff. And then at the same time, we have a bunch of priority, right? Comfey's priority, Rillaboom's priority, Raging Bolt's priority, Urshifu, if you have the Aqua Jet, is also priority. So you have a lot of things going for you with version 1 of the team, okay? But this is how I would round it out in terms of, you know, my movesets and my items and my EVs and my Terra stuff, right? So now let's take a look at some EV spreads that we can do with this squad. Okay, you know, the more I thought about it when going back to Lugia and just looking at what I can do with the spread here, I don't think we need any speed. What we do want is definitely we need this, okay? Because even when it's max modest, like it's still only 156. That's not that good, okay? This is why you need stuff like Helping Hand, Comfey, and you know, Beads of Ruin, Chiyu, you know, all besides the Calm Minds, right? Sometimes you just need 2 Calm Minds, and even then, sometimes that's just not enough. But you know, if you have these guys, then that's going to help you out a little bit more. All right. So from here, I still think we need modest 252. Then we just need straight bulk. I don't need any speed on this thing. This Lugia, we're going to accept the fact that because we've committed so much in the modest investment that we're not going to be, you know, full on speed. All right. And then at that point, look, I've got Trick Room Comfey. I'm not going to run any speed. Let me just run all bulk. Let me be super annoying on the field and just kind of chill there. So what I want to do is just make some even numbers here for Calm Mind. So special defense is up there. So that's all we need for special defense. It's already super high. The special attack is an even number for the Calm Mind, so that's good. Then, you know, we have Rillaboom Grassy Terrain stuff if we do have the Terra type available. So let's go to 208 HP and just leave it like that. And then just put the last couple points in defense like this, right? And if anything, if you really wanted to, you can even just do this. You know, just go 236 and then 1 point there in defense if that's really what you wanted. But I wanted to at least get some optimization when I did Terra. So let's just do this and, you know, add a couple points there in defense. So like Lugia's bulk is actually pretty solid. It's just the damage that, you know, is lacking. But at least with these guys, you know, it can kind of still be okay, as well as with the Calm Mind setup here. Comfey, pretty solid, but pretty easy. I think we just want to go Bold Nature here. You know, just max HP, go to the second EV bump here in defense, and then just dump the rest here in special defense, right? By the way, if you're trying to play competitive Pokemon and you're not quite sure how to really make your EV spreads, one thing to really understand here is the EV bumps, right? I talk about it in almost all of my team building videos, but if you don't know what they are, okay, and if you're trying to really get better at it in terms of building, right, make sure you comment below asking what are EV bumps, because it's a very fundamental skill to understand when you're trying to play a competitive Pokemon. All right, so comment what are EV bumps. If you don't know what they are, I will respond to you, and hopefully that will help you out in terms of what they are for each respective Pokemon. All right, Chiyu here. You know, again, the whole point of the Choice Scarf is just to outspeed not only the Urshifu Choice Scarf users, but also just straight up Calyrex without needing any kind of Tailwind. So from there, I just need modest. I just need 252 here. That's really all I want the Chiyu to have. Of course, Rillaboom. Again, Adamant Nature is going to be pretty good here. I just like max HP Rillaboom, and hitting the second bump in Adamant Nature, 116 investment, is all I really need there. I don't need any speed either. And then I just want a little bit of defense and just dump the rest in special defense like this. You know, just be like a super bulky Rillaboom, always looking for that even number in special defense. just to you know, maximize the gains that I would get with the Assault Vest, right? Because if this was an odd number, then we're gonna get a decimal, and decimal rounds down in competitive Pokemon, and we don't want things rounding down, right? That's our bulk. We want things to stay nice and whole, so we always look for those even numbers in this case. I forgot to change the ability on Rillaboom. Okay, there we go. So now the Urshifu. So because we have Trick Room here, you guys may have noticed I've been a huge fan of, as of late, of the slow, bulky Urshifu, right? I think Urshifu bulk is really, really good. It takes people by surprise every single time. And we still want some damage here, so I'm going to go 236 Adamant. We'll go for 132 investment in the HP. Again, just looking for that 192 mark for Rillaboom Grassy Terrain. At 1 point in defense, that's all we need. And then just literally dump the rest in Spadef like this, right? And if you want, you can technically go just about right here, you know, just to outspeed some of those Jolly Incineroars, which are very, very annoying. So in that case, you can go to 124 speed, and that should just be enough in terms of outspeeding them, right? You know, before Trick Room is even set up. So from here, okay, here we go. Raging Bolt. Again, you know, you have two choices, but either way, I do like just having this benchmark here for the Life Orb here. I think this is also okay. Again, when you bring out the Sun, it's just going to get a Photosynthesis boost. We don't need any speed, just 1 point there, because, you know, we do have Trick Room on our Comfey here. We do have the option to optimize Life Orb chip recoil by going to 219. You know, so this way we can, you know, manage or, you know, optimize how much chip damage we're taking every 1/10 of our attacks, right? So look at this, 1/10 of your max HP. So 219 again divided by 10, 21.9 rounds down to 21. If I break the threshold like this, 220, now I'm taking 22 points of damage per Life Orb tick. You don't want to do that, right? So you always want to undercut the threshold by 9. So this way you keep it like that. But I also see that I have Rillaboom on my team. So I have a choice to make. Do I want the Life Orb chip recoil, or do I want the Grassy Terrain recovery? I decided to go with the Grassy Terrain recovery. So I'm going to go to 224 there, which is the next step up after 208, right? Every factor of 16. That's how you optimize for Rillaboom Grassy Terrain, right? In case you guys didn't know that, and in case you guys did not read. Okay, all right, from here, you know, 140 defense. Again, this is the calc that allows you to survive Glacial Lance, stuff like Chen-Pao, Icicle Crash, Ice Spinner, all that good stuff. You have the bulk there that will help you do that. And then just the leftovers go into special defense. So it's a hard-hitting Raging Bolt with good amount of bulk here, especially with our HP and our defense. And of course, it's going to do well in Trick Room because we are very, very slow. All right, but that's it, right? And let me put this on the screen here. So this is our first version of our Lugia squad that we built for someone. And again, if this is something that you're interested in, right, if you're trying to do some team building and you need a little bit of help, you're not sure which direction to go, make sure you do a tier 3 sub to the channel, and then from there you're able to message me on Discord, and then we can build you the team that you need for whatever it is you want it for and the way you want it built. All right, so check that out, make sure you explore it, and it's very much worth it, right? It's just $10. So we've been able to do a lot of affordable team building for a lot of people over the years. So that being said, this was one way to look at it. So, you know, Comfey is really good here for all of these options, right? Obviously setting up Trick Room. We have a slow Urshifu, we have a slow Raging Bolt. We don't have any speed on this Lugia. We went like almost full on bulk. We can improve its damage with Calm Mind, Helping Hand, and the Chiyus, you know, Beats of Ruin. And at the same time, we have a Fake Out user in the Rillaboom. You know, so this way we can try and set up the Calm Mind in that sense. Then Urshifu also over here, you know, Taunt is also pretty solid, but Fake Out Surging Strikes is really good. And then, you know, just a physical damage breaker that you can have on the team, you know, besides having the Chiyu and the Raging Bolt, you know, carry you on the special end, right? And then we just have Lugia kind of just there doing a little bit of chip, right? But believe it or not, it can actually do something. So on a squad like this, I think this is relatively solid for something like a Comfey kind of archetype. All right, so let's go ahead and let's test it out and let's see how it functions, and then we'll look at version number 2. All right, so this is someone that's playing Zamazenta stuff, and oddly enough, actually Lugia has a decent matchup into Zamazenta, right? And also has a decent matchup into Koraidon for that matter. So there's a couple of positives for Lugia, I guess. but it's still like somewhat difficult because of the other restricted that's running around. But in this particular case, we do have some advantages here, especially against the Rillaboom. The other ones that we do have to watch out for is obviously Chien-Pao, obviously Fluttermane if it has Shadow Ball, and Incineroar, knockoff is not good, and then Parting Shot is also not great. But again, all things considered, we have a Covert Cloak, okay? So we double Fake Out boys aren't going to do a whole lot here. But you know what's really good again in this matchup? Chi-Yu. Like, look at this. Like, Rillaboom, Zamazenta, they can melt the Chi-Yu here, especially even Chien-Pao here. So I do like Chi-Yu in this matchup. And I also like Comfey for that matter, because again, Comfey can give me Trick Room here. It can boost our damage for everything else. We have priority moves, with Draining Kiss and all that. So I do like Comfey in the end game, especially also with something like a Raging Bolt. I think Raging Bolt can also do relatively well here. So that being said, I decided to just be aggressive here with Lugia and Comfey. Lugia and Chi-Yu, just so that I can just be super aggressive here against a lot of what he wants to try and lead with. And this is actually pretty good right now. So he Sucker Punches the Lugia. He breaks my Multiscale. It's Life Orb Chien-Pao, which means everything is going to melt, especially after this Heat Wave here. Tornadus does live. But this is where some value comes from Lugia, because you don't need the Calm Mind when you have Chi-Yu on the field. So we pick up 2 KOs on turn 1. He's got Rillaboom in front of a Chi-Yu, so that's good for us. He's forced to Terra the Flutter, which also means he did not bring the Zamazenta, so that's also pretty interesting. He takes out Lugia. This Fluttermane does have Shadow Ball. A lot of them give it up this time around for Icy Wind and Taunt stuff, but he did have it in this one. But that's okay, because now we bring in Comfey, and we can do a whole lot here, especially with Helping Hand Heat Wave, as long as we hit. We survived the Shadow Ball, which is kind of good. I knew we would because the Fluttermane wasn't boosted. And then we just wipe off everything off the field, right? So again, Lugia had some decent value here. We didn't really need it to set up Calm Mind. All we really needed is to, be next to the Chi-Yu and then do big damage, or quote-unquote big damage, do reasonable damage with something like Aeroblast. And that's exactly what happened there. This one's a pretty strange Kyogre team here. I understand Tornadus, Kyogre, and Arceladon, but after that, Blood Moon, Ursaluna, and Ogerpon Heartflame on a Kyogre team just seems a little bit weird. But that being said, I do like Raging Bolt here. I also like Urshifu to an extent, but I also like Rillaboom because, again, Rillaboom, is really good into Kyogre, also really good into Ursaluna. There's no Serena, there's no Ferrograff, and I think that's a mistake. So that's pretty cool. So I do like that in the end game, but honestly, I just want to go with Comfey turn 1. Just lead that, bring out the Trick Room, and here's the Raging Bolt, which looks really good into a lot of what he has, especially with his Tornadus, Urshifu, and Kyogre. So he goes for a Tailwind. Why he does that in front of a Comfey, I couldn't tell you, but he went for it. So free Thunderbolt damage, it's a Sash Tornadus, doesn't really matter. I can just go Helping Hand, just try and nuke the Ogerpon, put it in range. He protects the Tornadus, easy read. And just in case he tries to nuke, we can always live. But he went for the Raging Bolt instead. I don't understand that play. But either way, I just want to heal my Raging Bolt back to full. Thunderbolt the Tornadus. We're doing really well in Trick Room here. And if the Kyogre comes in now, it's cooked. But he brings the Urshifu instead. I'm not even worried about this thing. I have a Rillaboom in the back. I just need to get rid of the Ogerpon, which we do. So now we're in the driver's seat completely, because this Urshifu is just not going to do a whole lot of damage, especially against a Raging Bolt here. And the Comfey lives anyway because we are bold natured, and we just have really good EVs in that regard. Kyogre comes in, and again, there's still Trick Room. I could have easily Helping Handed and Thunderbolted the Kyogre here, but just to be safe, just in case he has Protect, I want to be safe. We almost pick up the Kyogre there anyway, but Raging Bolt also lives the Origin Pulse. Comfey does not live the Surging Strikes, but again, that's fine because we have a Raging Bolt and a Rillaboom up against an Urshifu and a Kyogre, and you already know who's going to win this matchup, right? This is very easy. We pick up with Grassy Glide, and then we can just easily pick up with the Thunderclap because I know that Urshifu is, Choice Scarf for that matter, right? So we don't even need the Lugia in this sense, right? Like I said before, if you have good positioning, stuff like Rillaboom and Raging Bolt, they can be your restricted, and just really, force your opponents to not bring out some optimal options. So in that sense, keep that in mind. Sometimes Lugia is not necessarily needed. Raging Bolt and Rillaboom and even Urshifu can very much win games for you. Okay, so our second, tier 3 sub wanted to do something a little bit different besides the Comfey. Instead, enjoyed the idea of Grimmsnarl Screens, right? And I decided to reference the Kyogre team that's been running around. that also features Calm Mind, right? And again, it's just a similar fashion, right? You want to set up moves so screens, fake out, and redirection are just your go-to tools to be able to set that up, right? So let me take off Kyogre here for a second here. So Lugia and then Grimmsnarl, this is the core, right? You set up screens, and then from there, you pivot, you set up fake out, and then you get up your Calm Minds, and then Lugia can do whatever it is that it needs to do. Protect the king is what we're doing here. So I do think Incineroar comes here in this case. This is our fire dark type instead of Chiyu. Fake out is really good, obviously, and then parting shot into Lugia, for example, is also going to be very solid. Will-O-Wisp, you know, for sure. Then you have, like I said, parting shot, and then from here you can also have knockoff, right? That's your other stat move. You know, just being able to remove key items is going to be important, right? Grimmsnarl and Incineroar leads are always very good. You get to intimidate, and then you get to click light screen, so you get to have both worlds turn one, and then reposition with something like parting shot, maybe even go for a thunder wave on some other slot, and then bring Lugia in to outspeed that threat, and you're kind of just chilling from there. And then from here, I think Rillaboom again comes, you know, again, just like, again, double fake out screens is going to help a lot. Then you have the Amoongus. The double grass core here is important. Again, just having that Trick Room matchup at the same time, having that redirection support to redirect the electric moves and the ice moves away from Lugia is going to be important. So I think that's also okay. And then your last slot here, I still like Raging Bolt. I think Raging Bolt, you know, with Lugia is a decent combination here in this sense. But at the same time, you know, the Amoongus is playing the Comfey role here, you know, where you're just clicking Pollen Puff and you're healing Lugia back to full. And then Incineroar and Rillaboom, they're just creating fake out, pressure, and then from there, you're just able to get into a decent position where you can set up your Calm Minds. And then even if you're taking damage, it's just not enough damage. You soak it up, and then you just blow things up with Aeroblast and Earth Power after 1 or 2 Calm Minds, right? So they like this play style, so we decided to go this route. And again, this is the same kind of team, that kind of Kyogre Origin Pulse leftover setup that they like to go for. So, you know, I figured let's just borrow that idea and just go from there, right? So here we go. Light Clay, Grimmsnarl, you know, Spirit Break, you know, for reducing special attack damage. Reflect, Light Screen, Thunder Wave is the way to go. By the way, if you don't like Spirit Break, you can definitely do Foul Play. I think that's also really good. That might even be better in some cases, but it just depends on you as a player. Instant, like we said, that's pretty standard. Safety Goggles, you know, just to get around Amoongus, of course. Rillaboom, again, you know, just with the Assault Vest set. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to borrow that Rillaboom set. It's just going to be pretty much the same Rillaboom. I don't really need to waste so much time there in that sense. And that's also where I borrowed the Lugia too, right? We're just going to save ourselves a little bit of time. And then the Amoongus, it's going to be the same Amoongus that we like to do. So what I'm going to say here is, again, with this Amoongus, let's just, you know, copy paste from an old set that we have here, right? So Terra Fairy Amoongus, you can definitely do that, but I also still like Terra Water Amoongus. Mental Herb, so you can't get taunted. Again, I think that's also important on Amoongus. If you like Rocky Helmet, that's also good, but I think just being able to click Spore, redirection, you don't want that ruined for you because that's not good if you're trying to go all in on setting up Calm Mind Lugia. So I think having that Mental Herb for that one particular turn is going to be important. Now, we can't really run Life Orb here. We could if we wanted to, but I think just going Magnet is just going to be okay. You know, just, again, redirect, you know, having that damage without, you know, taking Life Orb recoil is going to be good. So I'm just going to copy a set here, but it's the same EV spreads that we had in the previous team, right? Just now we have a Magnet instead of a Life Orb. But if you like the Life Orb, then you can definitely go for that in that sense, right? So Amoongus, again, this set here, again, we're going to the third bump here. And then this is also going to be enough to survive the Calyrex Glacial Lance, the Chenpao Icicle Crash, Ice Spinner for that matter, also really good. 219 here is optimized to get optimal regenerator recovery because 1/3 of 219, that's a perfect 73. So, you know, you might as well go for that. Rillaboom, as we said, is the same set here. The Incin, I just still like Careful Incineroar set. I think Careful is also really solid. Let's go to the third benchmark here. 236 HP here. So 156 is our bump there. And then from there, a little bit of speed. and then just dump the rest into your defense there. Now, if you really want to, you can definitely do the max speed Jolly 252 Incineroar. If you're that kind of person, you can definitely do it, but we like our Incineroars to be relatively bulky, so we just decided to stay that route. Grimmsnarl here, I do like Impish Nature, I do like max HP, and then going to that bump right here, and then from there, you know, just 1 point in the attack, a little bit of speed, not too much, and then just dump the rest into Spit Def. So this way we have even stat hold of our defense and our special defense. But again, you're able to take a lot of Surging Strikes in this sense. When I say a lot, I mean like at least one. So you have that going for you. Also, Flutter Mane, Dazzling Gleam with Light Screen, you can also live that as well. But all in all, I think we're okay here. Now, the one thing you have to watch out with this kind of build is, again, the ice weakness. Count how many ice weaknesses. 1, 2, 3, 4. So not like ideal optimal team building in this sense, but it can still work, right? Because, you know, again, this had Kyogre, so like Kyogre is able to resist ice, so you technically only had 3 ice weaknesses here. Now you've got 4, and sometimes that can make you struggle a little bit, so you just have to be careful in that sense. This is where stuff like Incin and Grimmsnarl are going to really help you in that kind of Calyrex Ice Rider matchup, where you can just set up Reflect, click Will-O-Wisp, or knock off on that clear amulet set, and then from there just go. But, you know, just be aware of the ice weaknesses that you're gonna have here. But other than that, it still like works relatively well. Like Grimmsnarl Screens makes it so that, you know, the weaknesses that you might have are just not doing as much as they should be doing because of the damage mitigation that you have with the screens, the parting shots, and the Intimidate support that you have here, right? So this was team number 2, right, with Lugia Screens, I like to say. And then, you know, version 3 kind of has a little bit of a mix between, you know, these two ideas, but it's still also Lugia Screens, and we'll show you that one in a second. But let's go ahead and test this version and see how this does on a couple ladder games. Okay, this is the Necrozma Dusk game, Lilligant Torkoal stuff that's running around with Ursaluna. I know this team, but, you know, it's pretty much the only way to really play Duskmane. But other than that, Regimo does look good here. So does Incin, for that matter, right? You have to Terra something. And then the Ursaluna looks good overall. But we do have a Rillaboom that can really help us, especially against Indeedee when we can change terrain, right? So just keep that in mind. So in terms of a starter, I like to do Grimmsnarl Incin stuff. It's a comfort lead for me. I like it a lot, especially back in Sword and Shield. He's going a little against Torkoal, so this could be after your Eruption, which I don't hate. But he goes immediately into Flutter Mane, right? So no fake out. He's dodging it. Probably wants to preserve his Sash. Doesn't have Terra Ghost. I was trying to force it out, but he didn't do it. And I just wanted to be aggressive into the Torkoal here. But that makes me think it might be like almost a support Torkoal set. So Light Screen goes out here. We do live, which is good. And then from there, I just wanted to weaken the Flutter Mane and just go into the Lugia right now. And we take this Eruption relatively well because we have Light Screen and Multiscale. Grimmsnarl unfortunately goes down, but that's okay. The Flutter Mane has been neutralized. It's -1, so I can actually go for a Calm Mind here, right? And I wanted to fake out the Flutter, which does end up paying off here. So it's a free Calm Mind essentially, right? Now the only thing that could be really problematic is something like a Sleep Powder. So I wanted to at least scout that, but he actually just goes for Swords Dance. So very interestingly enough, he does that. But I did want to at least click Knockoff here, and it was just a Focus Sash, so you know. We get to at least reveal that. But I'm going to go to Rillaboom here. You know, just get me a little bit of Grassy Terrain. He goes for a Solar Blade, which is not great, right? Because I make him do extra damage. But at the very least, we can sit in front of Flutter Mane for that matter. He doesn't have Shadow Ball, and we just nuke the Lilligant there. So that's cool for us, right? And now he goes back into the Torkoal here. But it doesn't really matter because, you know, he's faster anyway. It's not a huge deal. So he wants to dodge my fake out. But I just want to really get rid of this Torkoal just in case he didn't swap out. Because now we're in a decent spot. Because now it's going to be Flutter Mane and Necrozma at the same time. Which is okay by me. Because we have more than enough in the bag to deal with that. Especially when we have Incineroar. But I just want to nuke this Flutter Mane right now. Especially when I have an Assault Vest. I'm not going to be taking that much damage. He makes a good V here and says, you know what? I know you're going to protect Lugia. So I'm just going to go for your Rillaboom. But now we just would hammer the Flutter Mane, and now essentially the game is over. We have U-Turn, we have Aeroblast, we have a lot of things going for us. But since we're Terragon, I'm just going to nuke this Necrozma here. Looks good there. Moongeist Beam comes out, but you know, we're Lugia, we have a +1. spit def. So we're able to at least take that, even though he's +1 from the Meteor Beam. Instant comes in. We're going to outspeed that, which is good for us, right? We can click knockoff, but he knows that's coming. He can't tear anymore, so he just gives up. So, you know, again, we were mitigating damage. We were positioning Incineroar and Rillaboom a little bit. And then from there, Lugia was able to at least deal some decent chip damage, pick up some KOs, sit in front of Flutter Mane and click Calm Mind because it was weakened. And that's really how you have to play this kind of version of this team. So this one's a Groudon variant, and you know, I understand Flutter Mane and Walking Wake. Then he's got Instant and Rillaboom, which is good. Then Iron Hands, of course. You know, I gotta say the Iron Hands is the one that's like the niche pick here. I felt like you could have had something like maybe Fergraph, for example, but overall, okay, sure. That being said, I do like Instant Rillaboom leads here again. You know, I'm going for comfort. I want to get in position. So here we go. Grimmsnarl in front of Flutter Mane, not so great, but interesting enough here is that the Groudon is not clear Amulet, so he does get intimidated, forcing him to switch out. So he relinquishes pressure in that regard. And then I do get up my light screen, and it's another Dazzling Gleam, which we again very much live. And now he fakes out the Grimmsnarl. He does want to go for the KO, right? And I'm gonna go for another parting shot. So once again, same scenario, but this time the Grimmsnarl drops. I weaken the Flutter Mane. And now I can go into Lugia. I can click my Calm Minds, right? And I'm going to go into my own Instant, so this way his Instant can't click knockoff on me, right? So he's forced to go into Rillaboom, which is fine by me. Again, this is, you know, essentially a free setup with the Calm Mind. That Icy Wind doesn't bother me at all. Again, we have a Cobra Coke. He just breaks my Multiscale, but this is basically a free Calm Mind, right? So that's good for us. And now the Rillaboom has to make a choice. Do I stay in or what? I'm going to go into Raging Bolt here, just in case. And he actually stays in, which is actually interesting enough, right? I probably should have been aggressive in this turn, but he did have Shadow Ball, right? Now it's revealed, but that wasn't going to do enough anyway, because, you know, I did have Light Screen up. I did weaken him with Parting Shot, so I was more than happy to at least take that. He has high horsepower. That's not good. We do some damage into Flutter Mane, and I really just wanted to remove that because it was threatening my Raging Bolt and even my Lugia here. Right, now he goes into Instant. It's not terrible. Again, I just want to keep the Raging Bolt around a little bit longer. Goes for high horsepower there. I go for another Calm Mind, right? Because I wanted to at least get 2. He goes for Parting Shot, you know, so not so great there. But Groudon now gets to come in. My Raging Bolt gets a nice little special attack boost. So I'm going to go into Incineroar again just to intimidate the Groudon. And he high horsepowers. We actually live because Intimidate is broken and our Incineroar spread is good. He lives the earth, the air. He lived it, right? But, you know, our Lugia also just takes the Stone Edge like a champ. He goes back into Instant, wanting to preserve that Rillaboom. Again, it's just, you know, giving me fake out Calm Mind support. And the Groudon decides to take out the Instant, which is good. So essentially it was a free Calm Mind. So now my Lugia is finally +2, which is good news for me. He goes back into Rillaboom. I couldn't tell you why he did that, but he went for it anyway. I want to just at least protect and double protect this turn. I don't want to get faked out here. I probably also didn't need to protect Lugia in this sense. I could have just been aggressive into the Groudon or the Instant slot here, right? But I want to get some good nukes. So I take out the Rillaboom with Aeroblast, which is fine. Then we do big damage into the Instant. We pick up the KO anyway, so that helps out. And notice how he faked out into a Cobra Coke Cruiser, right? But now we just win the game because now we can just overwhelm him. Again, Aeroblast is doing a ton of damage. He goes for P-Blades. He does pick up the Bolt, but again, that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Lugia is just going to win this game because we have 2 Calm Minds set up, and Groudon's special defense is just not as good as its regular defense. So here, Lugia was actually a decent contributor, but again, we had to, you know, cycle our fake outs, whatnot, and, you know, so this way Lugia can get those Calm Minds going. Okay, the third variant of, you know, our Lugia team building session, right, is another one who wanted another different kind of playstyle. So instead of having those options with Grimmsnarl, we're still going to keep the Grimmsnarl and Amoongus, but they wanted to go a different route. They still wanted the aggression that Chi was able to bring Lugia. So we're going to put Chi back here. And then at the same time, we're going to add Flutter Mane. So now we have Chi Flutter Mane, right? And sometimes Flutter Mane can be restricted and not necessarily Lugia, but this also works. And then we're also going to, instead of Raging Bull, we're going to have Iron Hands here. So here's the idea. We have the Amoongus, you know, healing our Lugia. We have the screen support, and we still get Fake Out, at least one Fake Out user with Iron Hands. And it can also give us somewhat of a trick room matchup a little bit, you know, just because Iron Hands is also relatively slow. And again, it's bulky at the same time, right? So it's also a nice little ground pivot option into Lugia, just in case things want to click a ground type attack. You could go into your Lugia and have it whiff because you are a flying type. But now we don't have so many ice weaknesses, which is good, right? So, you know, screens, Fake Out, redirection, you still have good aggression here, special attack wise with Flutter, Chi and the Lugia, so that's good. You can even do like Grimmsnarl, Iron Hand leads, right? Fake Out screens, that's also pretty good. So in that sense, I do see the idea here. It's not so great not having the parting shot from the Incineroar, but it still can work, you know, with the team like this. All right, so we'll keep these three the same. The Chiyu also with the Choice Scarf, we'll also keep that the same. So we'll borrow that because they did like that. Okay, we'll put that here. The Flutter Mane, we're just gonna go Booster Energy Flutter Mane. Okay, we'll go Moonblast, we'll go Icy Wind, and we'll go Shadow Ball. Okay, and then from here we'll go Protect here. Now you can go Taunt, Covert Cloak, Flutter, Chiyu, but again we have the Covert Cloak on the Lugia, so that's out the window. You can also put Moonblast, Icy Wind, and Taunt on this Flutter Mane and still be fine with it, and then just rely on your Moonblast damage, which I think is okay. And then Iron Hands here with Assault Vest, you know, pretty standard, you know, with Fake Out, you know, Drain Punch, Wild Charge, and of course Heavy Slam, right? So this is your fighting type that you're going to need on your team. It's good into Terapagos, so it's very much appreciated. So I do like this version as well. I think I like this better than the second version, right? You know, to me this had a little bit too many ice weaknesses. There's no fighting type, so it was good, but I do like this variant a little bit better if I had to use Grimmsnarl Screens. All right, so from here, you know, again, a lot of these spreads are just pretty much borrowed. The one thing we can do with Flutter Mane again is just to go Timid and outspeed the 135s, right? So I'm gonna go to 189 because they cap at 187 if they are modest or adamant nature. Then from there, I just like this much in terms of our special attack investment, and then from there, you know, just having enough HP and defense to survive the Grimmsnarl Grassy. I'm sorry, not Grimmsnarl Grassy Tree. Wow, that was a fumble of words. The Chien-Pao Ice Attack. So 116, 196 can do that job for you. So I did like that. And then Iron Hands, I also just kept it relatively simple. Let's just go Adamant here. Max Speed Def, a little bit of speed. But from here, 1 point in defense, just about this much. And then put that much in attack. And again, this attack is the benchmark here for Iron Hands. It's the bump in terms of a Terra type here. You can go water, you can go grass. I think grass is okay. Again, just avoiding Amoongus. Spore shenanigans is not so great. And also resist ground type attacks, so you can definitely do that. Flutter Mane, of course, we just want Terra Fairy, is also relatively solid. Where are you, Terra Fairy? Yeah, there we go. Chiyu is Ghost, Amoongus is Water, Grimmsnarl. Oh, we forgot to do Grimmsnarl here. So I guess we could even go do like Terra Ghost Grimmsnarl. And then even in this Lugia, we can keep around. Yeah, I guess I forgot to change the Terra on this Grimmsnarl. Yeah, I would just put that one as Ghost. But, you know, this is our third variation of our Lugia squad. So it borrows the Chiyu idea from version 1, keeps the Screens idea from, you know, version 2, but, you know, borrows the healing potential, not from Comfey, but from an Amoongus. And then we still have a Fake Out user in Iron Hands here. Even though it's not instant or Rillaboom, it's still okay. And then Flutter Mane, also, you know, with Chiyu, you know, Icy Wind, Heat Wave stuff, it's also still so oppressive. So you can definitely play the team like this. And I also think it still works relatively fine. Alright, so that's it. So let me know which version of a Lugia squad you like. Do you like the Comfey Chiyu aggressive version? Do you like the Screens variant with Incineroar, Rillaboom, and Amoongus in version number 2? Or do you like number 3, where we still keep the Screens idea with Grimmsnarl? We borrowed the Chiyu idea from team number 1, and then we just support it, you know, with Iron Hands, Amoongus, Fake Out redirection, and then Flutter Mane is also really good for speed control and taunt. you know, just supporting the Chiyu altogether, right? And as well as the Lugia in that sense. So let me know what you think. Which version of Lugia do you like from what we've constructed? Hopefully this inspired you to build your own Lugia team and gave you some ideas as to what you can really do with this Pokemon. But again, it was just all about keeping it alive, you know, with screens and healing from either Comfey or Amoongus, helping it do more damage with Helping Hand or having a Chiyu on the field at the same time. And then just having Fake Out to be able to set up your Calm Minds, you know, for potential endgame scenarios is also just how you want to be able to play it if you're using something like version number 2. All right, but again, if you're interested in team building and you're trying to, you know, go to locals or whatnot, or just need something for ladder and you're not sure how to approach the building, feel free to reach out. Feel free to do a tier 3 sub to the channel. You know, you can check the link in the video description, or you can look in the pinned comment section of the video. Every single video has that same link where you can click it, join the channel, and then from there you can message me on Discord. You can join the Discord. Our Discord link is in our video description at the same time. So feel free to do that, join our community, and then from there, when you do reach out, we'll build you the team that you want, the way you want it done. All right, but that's it for now, folks. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out and have a good one.